So here's the deal. Back in April 18th, 2024, Moon Studios launched No Rest for the Wicked into early access, and we are big fans of No Rest for the Wicked. As such, I'm very happy to bring you the details of the latest update, the Cerim Crucible. There is a lot of information in these patch notes, but to bring you up to speed, at first, Moon Studios wanted to focus their initial updates, their initial patches, on slight tweaks and bug fixes, things to kind of get the game out the door. Well, now begins a new phase of the production, where the focus is on much more sizable additions to the game. There are some small improvements, and those improvements include some of the regions of the overworld have been expanded upon. There's a lot of new combat effects, like fireballs, freezing, and heavy weapons. It adds a little bit more to the destruction, to the chaos. There's also stray animals that have been added. Pet them. This is another big batch of optimization and performance updates, of course, such as much improved cinematics, and the general visuals overall have been tweaked and upgraded quite a lot. This is now Steam Deck verified. It is official. This is the Cerim Crucible. This is a new rogue-lite mode that Moon Studios has added to the game to greatly increase the amount of replayability to this game. Firstly, they wanted to announce that they've added a huge amount of randomized chapters to the game. So some of these buildings, some of these levels, these areas that you've seen before, they will be repeated, of course, but it is randomly generated, and that pool just got much, much larger. They are adding a new faction. This faction is known as the Gloam. And if I may quote from the actual patch notes here, quote, "The Gloam are lost souls who became infected by the pestilence within the deep, dank caves throughout Sacra. Some got lost, trapped underground, or buried alive, but all of them ended up glowing with a kind of corrupt bioluminescence." This new faction, of course, is going to be enemies to crush, but it also ties into a new addition, the Vendor. A Vendor has been added that feeds on Gloam Seed. This Gloam Seed can be found along your run, of course, by crushing some of the Gloam. You turn this into the Vendor for better equipment, weapon upgrades, and more in future updates that Moon Studios just hasn't quite alluded to yet. This new tier of weapon is known as Exalted, and these Exalted weapons are permanent. This means that you can keep those weapons for use in the rest of the game. One of the standout features that really has to be highlighted here is the Echoes. Echoes are multipliers that you can select for each run. They often buff some stats at the expense of other stats. Sometimes they just add some weird and wacky rules to the game, but in any case, they're there to make sure that each run of this Crucible is different from the last. You and your friends will have different experiences the whole way through, and you're able to get together and talk about the differences. And that's fun, those water cooler moments that we all remember from yesteryear. Now, I've sped through some of the details of this update because there's a lot of changes, a lot of tweaks, and I encourage you to go look at the patch notes yourself if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details of it. But the most important thing to note out of all of this is that this is really only the beginning of No Rest for the Wicked. Moon Studios has really thrown everything behind this game, and although it launched in early access, it's really, really strong, and I see this really only getting bigger and better from here.